I got to start with this. So
They sat down with an exclusive interview with Elon Musk and President Trump.
A lot of his life on
Sean Hannity was the lucky guy that got it. So
Twitter a number of years ago, you just made him pay you $10 million?
That's right.
That's right.
we didn't make him pay. Elon's face. Elon's face always kills me, man. He's always
did a number on me, you know, and I sued, and they had to pay. They paid $10 million settlement.
I don't know what it is about Elon's expressions that just they send me.
The lawyers and the team running Twitter, so it's
He's such a goofball, dude.
I think it's fun.
I think it's a very low. I was looking to get much more money than that.
So you gave him a discount when the lawsuit.
He got a Oh, I don't think he even.
I feel like he's just got.
He's become one of your. If you read and believe the media, he's become one of your best friends. He's working for free for you.
Well, I love the president. I just want to be clear about that.
You don't care about that.
I know. I love the president.
You love the president.
I think President Trump is a good man, and he's
That's the way he said that, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the president has been so unfairly attacked in the media. It's really outrageous. At this point, spent a lot of time with the president, and not once have I seen him do something that was mean or cruel or wrong.
Yeah, they were relentless against him for quite a while, for sure.
Anybody take as much as he's taken?
Yeah.
And we've discussed this, and I'm like,
all the mainstream media was like straight weaponized, coming after him for an extended period of time.
Worry about it, and then culminating in 2 assassination attempts, which resulted in your endorsement.
Well, I was going to do it anyway, but that was
it.
Precipitating event. Yes.
He's going to do it anyway.
Yeah. The day of the assassination.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It sped it up, but I was going to do it anyway.
Mr. President, with your indulgence.
With how busy Elon is, I'm surprised he's able to make time to do all this stuff. He must be like, hey, you guys are in charge while I'm over here doing these things.
As I studied and prepared for this interview, I learned a lot about you that I didn't know. I think people will think about Tesla. Democrats are demonizing you and trying to make the country hate you. I just want people to understand you a little bit better, and the person that you've gotten to know and have now put a lot of trust in.
Yeah.
And, just go over a little bit of your bio, starting with PayPal and how you became involved in Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah, I don't really know much about his PayPal involvement, but I remember hearing people talk about it.
I think the way to think of me is like I'm a technologist, and I try to make technologies that improve the world. And
I do know he's one of the few guys whose hair progressively got better.
Provide the president with
tech support. Oh my God.
Now, that may seem like, well, is that a silly thing? But actually, it's a very important thing, because the president will make these executive orders, which are very sensible and good for the country, but then they don't get implemented, So if you take, for example, all the funding for the migrant hotels, the president issued an executive order, hey, we need to stop taking taxpayer money and paying for luxury hotels for illegal immigrants. Which makes no sense. Like, so obviously, people do not want their tax dollars going to fund high-end hotels for illegals, and yet they were still doing that.
Yeah, I mean that was a real problem in places like Chicago and New York. They were putting them all up in hotels and paying for them.
Order, it needs to stop. So
it was a real problem for a while there. They were flying them in,
one of the biggest functions,
paying for them to fly in, and then putting them up in hotels.
Orders are actually carried out. And this is, I just want to point out, this is a very important thing, because the president is the elected representative of the people. So he's representing the will of the people. And if the bureaucracy is fighting the will of the people and preventing the president from implementing what the people want, then what we live in is a bureaucracy and not a democracy.
Well, there's definitely a lot of bureaucracy in government in general.
That the media and the punditry class, not that, I think you.
It's almost like what people pretty much expect there to be bureaucracy in the federal government at this point. Like, you expect, hey, if you need to get a license, you're going to have to sign 15 forms and go to these 30 classes and do all this stuff. That's an exaggeration, obviously, hyperbole, but there's always bureaucracy.
And now I see they want you two to start. They want a divorce. They want you two to start hating.
They want a divorce. They want mom and dad to split. They want mom and dad to break up.
You do know that they're doing that to you.
Oh, I see it all the time.
Yeah, they try to drive a wedge between them.
They have many different things.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that too. They try to drive a wedge between them because they're like, maybe we can like somehow manipulate their relationship and get them to stop wanting to work together.
They said, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting. And I say, it's just so obvious.
Every time I see Elon, I just think of all the memes he posts on Twitter all the time. That's like the...
Because I think nobody in history has ever gotten more bad publicity than me. I could do the things. I get 98% bad publicity.
Yeah, he's had a lot of bad publicity for sure.
You're very good friends. Right. It's like the craziest thing. But you know what I have learned, Elon? The people are smart. They get it.
Yeah, they do, actually.
They get it. They really see what's happening.
Yes.
And at the end of this interview, what I would like is I want people to know the relationship and know more about you. What is the relationship?
Yeah. What's your relationship like?
I've always respected him.
How often do you guys get to go out to dinner?
That he was right on certain things, and I'm usually pretty good at this stuff. He did Starlink. He did things that were so advanced. And
Yeah, Starlink's done a great number to help people in Western North Carolina, for sure.
You know, they had rivers in between land that never saw water. All of a sudden, it was a
Oh, he's talking about
river
North Carolina. There we go.
vicious,
Yeah.
like rapids. People were dying all over. They had no communication. They said, you know.
Yep, Starlink
Elon
changed the game
Musk.
for
They
so many
didn't really
people
know
out there.
him. Know him? I said, yeah.
Good friend of mine,
So
Sean
could you
Hendricks, was out there
Starlink? It's
handing
the
out
first time I've
hundreds
heard
of
it. I said, "What's
Starlink
Starlink?
nodes.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I have it.
When there was
Yeah,
electricity
and
and
he said,
internet cut out all
and
these
I said,
places, they were able to get
"Listen, we
internet
need it."
from
And
Starlink.
he got like thousands of units of this communication, and it saved a lot of lives. He got it
Yeah, it did.
immediately, and you can't get it. I mean, you have to wait a long time to get it. But he got it to him immediately and said, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I had a lot of buddies that distributed
we
out
watched the
to
rocket ship,
police
so we
stations,
watched
fire departments,
test
emergency
flight. You know,
responders.
something that had an effect on me was when I saw the rocket ship come back and get grabbed like you grab a beautiful little baby. You grab a
beautiful little baby.
Hug the rocket.
I've never seen
Like you grab a beautiful baby.
no, but and he said, you know, you can't really have a rocket program if you're going to dump $1 billion into the ocean every time you fly. You have to save it.
Right.
And he saved it. First time that I've
Never
ever
been done.
seen that done. And nobody else can do it. If you look at the U.S., Russia, or China, they can't do it, and they won't be able to do it for a long time. He has the technology. So you learn, I wanted somebody really smart to work with me in terms of the country, a very important aspect. Because, I mean, he doesn't talk about it. He's actually a very good businessman. And when he talks about the executive orders...
Well,
and this is
obviously, he's been
probably
very
true for all
successful.
presidents. You write an executive order and you think it's done. You send it out. It doesn't get done. It doesn't get implemented. They don't implement it. Maybe they're from the last administration, and they are in some cases. You try and get them out as fast as you can. But as soon as he said that, I said, you know, that's interesting. You write a beautiful executive and you sign it and you assume it's going to be done, but it's not. What he does is he takes it, and with his 100 geniuses, he's got some very
100
brilliant young
geniuses.
people
It's a lot of
working
genius.
for him that dress much worse than him.
Dress much worse than him.
You
Oh,
wouldn't have 180
I'm sure
women.
he's got
So
some.
he's
Oh,
your
guarantee he's got
tech
some
support.
troglodytes that are just like geniuses.
He gets it done. He's a leader.
Hey, those people
He
get
gets
things
it done.
done.
You get a lot of tech people, and you have people that are good with tech, but they
You
get
need
it
people
done.
that know
You I
tech,
said
man.
in
You need
real
them.
estate,
I need them.
you
So people who've
know,
made my Discord for me or helped me customize my Twitch, like people that are smarter than me that know about how technology works. Shout out to Coral, by the way, Coral
And then the
Gonzalez.
other guys
Thank
are
you for
able to
all
get
of the
it
help
done.
that you've done.
Get it done. I was in real estate. Same thing in this. He gets it done. So when he said that, he said, you know, when you sign these executive orders, a lot of them don't get done, and maybe the most important ones. And he would take that executive order that I'd sign, and he would have those people go to whatever agency it was. When are you doing it? Maybe he didn't want to do it. All of a sudden, he's signing. He just doesn't want to be bothered.
Do a lot of those executive orders have to be codified into law? Do you need the Republican Congress
and
to
they will
follow
be.
up?
A lot of them will be. Yeah.
They will.
But look, in the meantime, we have 4 years. The beauty is we have 4 years. That's why I like doing it right at the beginning.
You have 4 years, but you have
Because
2
an
years
executive
until the
order is great.
midterms, and
The one
that's
problem is
gonna
both
that
good
could
and bad.
potentially change things.
Because when they did all these executive
Or not.
orders, I mean, we're going to go radical left.
If Republicans
communists,
maintain
they go
control of the
crazy
House and the
there.
Senate
Exactly.
during the midterms, then he'll have 4 years to pretty much do
So
most of the
damage
things that he
Biden
wants to do
has
while
done
he's in
to
the
this
presidency.
country. And it's not even Biden, it's the people that circled him in the Oval Office, okay? But the damage they did to this country.
So we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Open borders, you know, there's so many things, but open borders where millions of people poured into our country, and hundreds of thousands of those people are criminals. They're murderers, they're drug dealers, they're gang members, they're people from prisons from all over the world.
Yeah, there's for sure been a lot of crazy folks coming over the border for sure. There's no that's no secret. That's no
He
secret.
is a phenomenal guy. And Kristi Noem is doing an unbelievable job. And he wanted her. He said, she's so tough. And I said, I don't think of her as that way. You know, she's very nice. He said, no, she's so tough. And
I don't know much about
Kristi
Kristi Noem.
She's riding the horse. Let's go.
But I did see an interview or a press conference she did, and she seems pretty dead set on especially protecting people from the illegal immigrant violence,
And other people.
like the angel moms and stuff like that.
Let me go back a little bit to your background, because it's
Sure.
It's beyond impressive. You were the chief engineer, for example. You were an early believer in Tesla. You became the CEO and then the chief engineer, which was phenomenal. SpaceX, same thing, which is unbelievable. I mean, you were the first private company to send.
I wonder if Elon's ever got any work done to his face. Because I know that he used to be like, he used to be kind of like balding back in the day, but he's got like great hair now.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, he's going to go to Mars. He's
Starlink.
He definitely got some. He definitely got a lot of work done for his hair. No, he's got great hair though. He's got a good hairline.
Starlink is in 100 countries. This is going to be hard. I feel like I'm interviewing two brothers here.
You go ahead.
They are very similar. You know, they like to.
Then you have.
They like to joke around and be pretty. They can both be pretty abrasive, but they just say whatever they feel like.
Then you have an AI
Which I think a lot of people like, and a lot of people also hate.
That really
So
fascinating.
depends on who you are, I suppose.
And it's called Neuralink.
Yes.
You might help the blind to see, people with spinal cord injuries.
Yeah, this Neuralink thing is pretty wild for sure. If you can like implant a chip or something like that into somebody's brain to totally rewire their nervous system.
In 3 patients so far who are quadriplegics, and it allows them to directly control their phone and computer just using their mind, just by thinking. It's like, so we call this product telepathy. So you control your computer and phone just by thinking. And it's possible to actually control the computer and phone faster than someone who has working hands.
Bro,
Then the next
that
step would be to
is
add
nuts.
a second Neuralink implant past the point where the neuron's damaged, so that somebody can walk again, and so they can have full body functionality restored.
Dude.
And
You like Bobby, right?
I like Bobby, actually, yeah. I think I supported Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy, RFK
he's,
Jr.
As someone who is anti-science, but I think he isn't. He just wants to question the science, which is the essence of the science. The scientific method fundamentally is about always questioning the science.
Well, they didn't tell us the truth about COVID, that's for sure.
Yes.
And we learned a lot with the Twitter file.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms though, right there, boys.
You may not like that part. You're pretty competitive.
It's neither here nor there.
I've known you a long time, but he's on your team.
President.
Well, that's true. He can't top that.
He's good. You know, I wanted to find somebody smarter than him. I searched all over. I just couldn't do it.
Oh my God.
You really tried hard.
I couldn't find anyone smarter, right?
Well, I tried finding someone smarter, but I just couldn't. I searched far and wide, but I couldn't seem to find anyone.
This is the interesting. This is where we are as a society, and I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to do it anyway. You're doing all of these things. You're DOGE. Nobody at DOGE gets paid a penny.
So here's the reason why Elon is able to do so many things is because Elon has good people that he hires to do things on his behalf. That is the only way that's the only way anyone can scale. Like whether you're building a business, whether you're running a company, whether you're running, a corporation or whatever it is, you got to have good people that you can trust who can run it for you. It's like part of the reason why he's able to post every 3 minutes on Twitter, terminally throughout the entire day. You think he's actually doing that? There's no way. There's no way. That dude is sleeping just like he's still a human being. He's still got to sleep. And you have to you hire virtual assistants. Maybe hire people that can do this, that, and the other thing, everybody's doing that all over the place. You hire people that can help manage things for you because you can't be everywhere all the time at once. There's no way you can do it. So that's probably one of the reasons why I personally think he's been as successful as he has, is because he's been able to find good people who want to help and they believe in the mission, they believe in the goals, they believe in what the companies are doing, and they are able to manage things on his behalf without him actually being there in person all the time to supervise things.
Correct?
Well, actually, some people are federal employees.
Some they're helping.
But I think it's fair to say that the software engineers at DOGE could be earning millions of dollars a year, and instead of earning a small fraction of that as federal employees.
Okay, so
They're very committed people.
So you're committed to helping the blind see, people with spinal cord injuries recover.
Yes.
You're committed to getting to Mars. You're committed to rescue. You're going to help rescue next month 2 astronauts that I think were abandoned. They dispute that in an interview.
At the president's request or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
In space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
Yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
All right, so let's see what they're talking about. All right. So the New York Post put out an article that says Elon Musk says stranded ISS astronauts were left up there for political reasons, literally from this interview. He was accusing former president about it. The craft is supposed to be returning to Earth in about 4 weeks after the plans were postponed. So the two astronauts was Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, and they were stranded in June when an issue was found with Boeing's Starliner capsule, which returned without them. They were supposed to remain aboard the station for just 8 days, but now have been up there for 258 days. NASA said in December that the two astronauts would have to just wait for yet another SpaceX rescue vehicle to arrive with replacement scientists no earlier than late March, and then would have to go through an unspecified handover period before finally departing. Now, to be fair, when they were interviewed by CNN's Anderson Cooper, Wilmore said, "We don't feel abandoned, we don't feel stuck, we don't feel stranded. I understand why others may think that." Williams said, "It was a little bit longer than we had expected, but that we've made the most of it." You know, of course they're not going to say that. They're not trying to be controversial. You know, they don't want to be they don't want to like put the blame on somebody or like play politics. That's probably why they're saying that. So I get it. But it is unfortunate that they've been up there. You know, if they were only supposed to be there for, you know, a week or two and they've been up there for that many days, that's a long time.
Okay, it's not good. Now, if I had the weight of the pressure of doing that successfully on my shoulders, I think I'd be, you know, but when we spoke before we did this interview, you are very confident. You think this will be a successful mission.
Well, we don't want to be complacent.
I hope so.
We have brought astronauts back from the space station.
Yeah, we got to get them back home, man. Get them back to their families.
So, as long as we're not complacent.
When are you going to launch?
I think it's about 4 weeks to bring them back.
Okay, yeah. 4 weeks.
And
we're being extremely cautious. Yeah.
You now have the go-ahead.
Yes. Well, thanks to you.
They didn't have the go-ahead with Biden.
What's that?
He was going to leave him in space. I think he was going to leave him in space.
Well, it's like
He
we
considered
were
it
growing
like-
up, lost in space.
Yeah, he didn't want the publicity. Can you believe it?
Unbelievable. And
So the New York
I wanted
Post
to
article
echo
said.
something that the president said and then ask overarching question. So
Now, to be fair, I don't know what the reason is why the previous administration left, or not left them, but why they didn't make an effort to bring them back sooner. I don't know what why that happened, but you know, they had their reasons, whether they were good or bad reasons. Well, that you can decide that for yourself. But the bottom line is, the fact is that they were supposed to be there for 8, 9, 10 days, and they've been there for over 200 now. Whether that's as a result of negligence or as a result of not having the support from the administration or, you know, being abandoned, I don't know. I don't know for sure. You can make that decision yourself. But the point is that they were supposed to be there for 8 days, and they've been there for over 200. So that's the facts.
people get hit with Hurricane Helene, they have no communication with the outside world. You come to the rescue, you donated that, I believe?
Yes.
Okay. You donated to the people.
He saved a lot of lives.
So he donated, but also he actually retweeted my buddy, Sean Hendricks, like I said, who's going out there. He went out there back and forth like dozens, if not close to 100 times, because he lives in North Carolina, and he went up there and gave out Starlinks to every fire department he came into contact with, every police department he came into contact with tons and tons of people that needed to have communications. And he got it out. He got tons of Starlinks out to people. And I think that SpaceX was working with him to help supply these Starlink nodes to people so that they could get back up online and communicate with the loved ones. So he did play a big role in that. He reached out to SpaceX directly to make sure that they got Starlink linked in with my buddy Sean and other people to support.
In North Carolina, he saved a lot of lives.
And California after the wildfires?
California, but I mean, in North Carolina, where they were really in trouble, they had no communication. People were dying.
It was bad.
They were dying of starvation. He saved a lot of lives in North Carolina.
Okay. Now you're going to rescue astronauts. And now...
By the way, there's a lot of stuff still going on in North Carolina and repairs and recovery and stuff like that now. There's still people that have no homes that are living in like campers. There's a lot of people living in campers right now that don't have homes. So don't forget about what's going on out there.
They call it like Trump derangement syndrome. And you don't realize how real this is.
No, Trump derangement,
Like,
yeah.
You can't reason with people. So like I was at a friend's birthday party in LA, just a birthday dinner, And it was like a nice, quiet dinner, and everyone was behaving normally. And I happened to mention, this is before the election, like a month or two before, I happened to mention the president's name. And it was like they got shot with a dart in the jugular that contained like methamphetamine and rabies.
Oh, Jesus.
What is wrong with you guys? Like, you
Elon,
can't have like a normal conversation. And it's like they become completely irrational.
He has no idea, but if you're a friend with him, you pay a price.
people get so, that's the thing, man. You know, some people, they just they're so turned off by him that they're, you know,
I mean, there was like
they become rabid almost, like what he's saying.
Because so I got invited to like basically a big sort of damn event like that was, but I received the invitation like the beginning of last year, and I still attended even after I'd endorsed President Trump, and I didn't realize how profoundly that would affect, you know, how I was received.
Yeah, you were probably received in a rough way, Elon.
From everyone, like if looks could kill, I would have been dead several times over.
But that was not.
I can't imagine, dude. I don't know why you would. That'd be tough to want to go. That'd be tough to want to go and still follow through with that, you know?
Welcome back to Hannity.
All right, this is like a 3-parter right here.
This is the $1 million or $1 billion, I'm among billionaires, question. So you have all of this going on, and you stop, in a way. You're still doing it, and you partner with him. And this is what you get from the Democrats.
The partnership of the century.
Nobody voted for Elon. Well, nobody voted for any of your cabinet nominees. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people are getting butthurt because they, you know, Elon's getting involved with the whole DOGE thing and the auditing.
Elon Musk, more street vernacular for a male body part.
Like, why is this unelected person going into our places? And I get it. If you don't have the clearance, I get it.
Well,
you know,
he must be over the target or doing something right.
But
if like they wouldn't be complaining so much if
there is a lot of stuff that's classified that is classified in a certain way too that maybe doesn't need to be classified that way.
The will of the people through the president. And what we're finding is that there's an unelected bureaucracy. Speaking of unelected, there's a vast federal bureaucracy that is implacably opposed to the president and the cabinet. And you look at, say, D.C. voting, it's 92% Kamala. Okay, so we're at 92% Kamala. That's a lot.
They don't like me here either.
I think about that number a lot. I'm like 92%. That's basically almost everyone.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild.
So,
D.C. is a very different place.
How can you?
You know,
if the will of the president is not implemented, and the president is representative of the people, that means the will of the people is not being implemented. And that means we don't.
It's because all these people moved to D.C. and they stayed there.
And so I think what we're seeing here
and
is
just like
the sort of
it's become this
thrash
like
of the
cesspool.
bureaucracy as we try to restore democracy and the people. Is this making sense? I mean,
yeah.
No, of course it does. I mean, to me, if you look at our framers and our founders, and
Yeah, the will of the people of the entire country, not just of the will of the people of D.C.
And
you know, because what people feel like in D.C. is not necessarily the way that people are going to feel like in Topeka, Kansas,
what's happening here is it's going
or Omaha, Nebraska.
However, what were the principles of our framers and our founders? They wanted limited government, greater freedom for the people. And we'll get to the specific cutting of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is your goal, is it not?
Yeah, and my goal was
a lot of these folks are going to go down kicking and screaming too, regardless, because
something I knew him a little bit through the White House.
Anybody that has something that's had it good for a while, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, that they're not in the majority or the power anymore, like they're going to be
questioned for a while.
Not happy.
There was some difficulties. It was not easy doing what he did. I mean, how many people have started a car company and made it really successful and made a better car where it's, you know, beating these big companies that's all they do is cars? I mean, it's really amazing.
I would not know the first thing about running a car company.
I didn't know it as much then as now.
I barely know how to take care of my own car.
Taken hold. But I wanted great people. And
I know when to get my oil changed.
He's an amazing person. He's also a caring person. You know, he uses the word care. So they signed a contract in a government agency, and it has 3 months, and the guy leaves that signed the contract, and nobody else is there, and they pay the contract for 10 years.
Yeah.
So the guy is getting checks for years and years and years, and he's telling his family, obviously, maybe it was crooked, maybe he paid to get the contract, or maybe he paid that they didn't terminate it. But, you know, we have contracts that go forever, and they've been going for years. And they're supposed to end in 3 months or 5 months or 2 years or something, and they go forever. So the guy is either crooked, you know, where he knew this was going to happen, or he's crooked because he's getting payments that he knows he shouldn't be getting. But they're finding things like that. They're finding things far worse than that. And they're finding
fraud, waste, and abuse.
And it will be hundreds of billions of dollars worth of fraud. I say waste and abuse.
Yeah.
But fraud, waste, and abuse. And he's doing an amazing job. And he attracts a...
To be fair, you're never going to have a zero, but you got to bring it as close to zero as possible.
High IQ individuals, and they are. They're very high IQ. And
because there's always going to be
when they
somebody
go
trying to
into
take
see
advantage of the
people and
system.
talk-
Always.
You know, the people think they're going to pull it over. They don't. These guys are smart. And they love the country. You know, there's a certain something. But he uses the word care. So people have to care. Like when I bought Air Force One, I negotiated the price. It was $5.7 billion, and I got them down to $1.7 billion. Now, they're not building the plane fast enough. I mean, they're actually in default.
5.7 billion was how much they were going to charge for Air Force One.
Yeah. We don't build the way we used to build. You know, we used to build like a ship a day.
Now it's 1.7 billion.
Is like a big deal.
$1.7 billion for an airplane.
So many things. It takes so long to get things built and get
That's
things done.
That's
And a lot of it
over
could be something we've been discussing.
999 million.
Regulators
That's
know it's impossible to
crazy.
build.
That's
They make it very
crazy
difficult to
money.
Build anything, whether it's a ship, a plane, or a building, or anything.
Bro.
And, some of them do it because they want to show how important they are. Some of them do it maybe because they think they're right. They use the environment to stop progress and to stop things. It's always the environment.
To stop progress, yeah. So that overclassification stuff is definitely there for bureaucracy purposes sometimes and to stop progress.
He could take 10 years to approve or disapprove something, or he could do it in a month, you know, just as good. Sure. And I think you're going to see a fantastic job done by him. He's a tremendous guy.
Yeah, I think they're going to be like ramming this thing through.
When I just met you, and it was very similar to what Newt has been saying, that he brought this country to the dance. This is the opportunity to be transformational and to have, I would argue, the most consequential presidency.
Yes.
If we really dig down and do something that had never been done before, and that is get rid of this bureaucracy. And I'm going to get to the specifics.
That's going to be tough, though. They're dug in. They are dug in. The bureaucracy is dug in, dude.
Winning the election is really the
It's going to be hard to get rid of that.
To fix the system. It is not fixing the system itself. So it's an opportunity to fix the system and to restore the power of democracy. And you know, people like it's funny how often when these attacks occur, the thing that they're accusing the administration of is what they are guilty of. They're saying that things are being done unconstitutional. But
what is the word for that? There's a word for that. There we go. So let's look at this. When someone accuses you of something that they are actually guilty of themselves, it's called projection in psychology, meaning they are essentially deflecting their own guilt or negative behaviors onto you to avoid taking responsibility for their own actions. It could be a form of manipulation or gaslighting, where they try to make you doubt yourself and your perception of the situation. Yeah. An example of this would be an unfaithful partner who constantly accuses you of flirting, cheating, or seeing other people. Yeah, that's pretty spot on, actually. Pretty spot on.
What they are doing is unconstitutional. They are guilty of which they accuse us.
That's always the first thing they do.
Yeah.
It's a violation of the Constitution. They don't even know what they're talking. Well,
It's
they
absurd.
know. It's just a con job. It's a big con job. And they're so bad for the country, so dangerous and so bad. And the media is so bad. When I watch MSNBC, which I don't watch much, but you have to watch the enemy on occasion.
You have to watch the enemy on occasion?
Arrogant and cheating, and they're just horrible.
I don't know how they survive over there.
Theories.
And they start up with the Constitution. They couldn't care less about the Constitution. CNN, likewise. I mean, I watch them asking questions with, you know, the hatred with the. I said, "Why are you asking the question with such anger?"
With vitriol, some would
But
say.
you see the bias.
Some
The bias
vitriol.
is so incredible. Those two are bad. PBS is bad. AP is bad. CBS is terrible. I mean, CBS now,
Oh, yeah.
they changed an answer.
The Associated Press.
In Kamala, they asked her some questions. She answered them like, you know, a low IQ person, the opposite of him.
Like a low
She
IQ
gave a
person.
horrible answer. They took the entire answer out, and they put another answer that she gave 20 minutes later into the...
They clipped it in, yeah. I know you guys probably saw
I
that.
thought I heard of it all.
The manipulation of everything.
Just for the sake of saving time.
Yeah.
That interview.
Because I could spend, and I've done this on radio and TV, I can spend an hour finding the outrageous amounts of money being spent abroad, like USAID, and I just want to mention a couple. But I'm
yeah, the USAID stuff.
I guess at a high level,
that's crazy.
What the president mentioned earlier, which is that in order to save taxpayer money, it comes down to two things: competence and caring. And when the president was shown the outrageous bill for the new Air Force One, and then negotiated it down, if the president had not applied competence and caring, the price would have been 50% higher. Literally 50% higher. The president cared, the president was competent, the price was not 50% higher as a result. And so when you add more competence and caring, you get a better deal for the American people.
But we were talking about this yesterday, I could give me thousands of bills, and I could pick any one of them.
Yes, exactly.
But I could take all 1,000. And let's say it's a bill for $5,000, just $5,000, and it's done by some bureaucrat. And if he would say, I'll give you 3, I don't want to pay you 5, it's too high, I'll give you 3. But they don't do that. If a guy sends in a bill for $5,000, they pay $5,000. They expect to be cut. Everybody expects to be cut. When you send in a bill, you expect to be cut. They send in the bill higher for the most part. This is true with lawyers, legal fees. When they send in legal fees, I can cut. I wish I had the time. I would save so, but I could cut these bills in half, much better than half. But you offer people a much lower number because you know they actually put fat. I'm not even saying it's like a way of business. They put more on because they expect to be negotiated. When you send a bill to the government, there's nobody to negotiate.
Yes.
You send in a bill for $10,000 and they send you a check.
That's
back.
fair. That's fair.
If you would call them and said, we'll give you 5. No, I need more than 5. We'll give you 5. I'm not going to pay any more than 5. Make it 6. No, I'm not going to make it 6. And you'll settle for $5,500. You've just cut the bill almost in half, and it took like 2 minutes. But none of that's done.
Someone call that the art of the
That's
deal?
caring. No, it's not even the art of the deal. It's caring. He uses the word. It's caring.
Yeah.
It's a certain competence, but I think it's more caring.
It's not the art of the deal.
If
It's
you
caring.
add either ingredient, either competence or caring, you'll get a better outcome. But it stands to reason that if you don't have competence, you don't have caring, you're going to get a terrible deal. And the problem is that the American taxpayers have been getting a terrible deal because look at the last administration.
So that's the one thing that I can tell you, like from personal experience. I know so many people that are involved in contracting that are like, hey, this is the job to get into because you can make the big bucks from the government, because most of the time you can just charge them whatever the hell you want and they're going to pay it. And nobody's going to try to negotiate the price, because it's not like, hey, this is a private homeowner that's trying to buy this house and they're trying to negotiate the price down a little bit and stuff. It's, it's like, hey, look, there's this blob that has endless amounts of money and we can just get whatever, we can just charge whatever we want, So, you just have to, caring is another way of saying giving a crap, essentially. You just got to give a crap a little bit.
Can any reasonable person say that the last administration was either competent or caring?
But they lied to us and said that Joe didn't have a cognitive decline.
They fully lied.
They said the borders were closed. They said that the borders were secure. They said that, they said Obamacare would save.
They flat out lied.
They flat out lied.
Insane.
And this is the last part.
American propaganda. Those days are now old information, and it's. I'll scroll a lot more than I'll mention to both of you, and this is the cost savings. I want people at home to understand this part. Average American makes $66,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is nothing.
$37 trillion in national debt.
Yeah.
Now, all the money I'm about to mention,
$66,000 a year is nothing, dude.
And
you can't do anything with that. Hardly.
Going to foreign countries. It is not being spent here in America for better schools.
$11 million to tell Vietnam to stop burning trash.
Americans should be mad as hell because their tax money.
$45 million for DEI scholarships in Burma.
The second question first. I want to know because
$520 million for consultant-driven ESG investments in Africa.
Has tried for a long time.
$70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland.
Okay, but they actually hide.
$32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru.
In other words, this is a question. How do you decipher?
$44.8 million for food/economic assistance for Venezuelan migrants in Colombia.
We even give money to China for crying out loud, which I think is nuts.
We'll give money to the Taliban.
Money to the Taliban.
Like a lot.
All right. So
like for what? I want to see the pictures of what they did.
But they try to obscure it.
$7.4 million to enhance efficient, inclusive, and accountable governance in northeast Syria.
Yes.
And that is $20 million on a Sesame Street show in Iraq, $56 million to boost
$29 million for an
Egypt,
agricultural
$40 million to build
trade
schools in
diversification
Jordan,
program
$11
in
million to
Georgia.
tell the Vietnamese to stop burning trash, $45 million for DEI
so much,
scholarships,
oh my
$500
God,
million
man,
for
so much money
consultant-driven
getting
ES
given away.
investments in Africa, DEI programs in Serbia.
$1.9 million to strengthen human rights for LGBTQ people in Western Balkans.
On a DEI musical in Ireland or transgender opera in Colombia.
$59 million to enable grain and oilseed farmers with a special focus on female farmers in Ukraine.
This is actually what was done. It sounds like a comedy sketch or
I have
something.
20 pages
It's
of
like,
this.
Right. It's not. It's a list a mile long.
Bro,
To
it's
put a
so much
number on
money.
it,
Like,
how much do you think you've identified waste, fraud, abuse, corruption at this point? And again, we're going to be scrolling this throughout the program.
Well, the overall goal is try to get $1 trillion out of the deficit. And if the deficit is not brought under control, America will go bankrupt. This is a very important thing for people to understand. A country is no different from an individual in that if an individual overspends, an individual can go bankrupt, and so can a country. And the massive waste, fraud, and abuse that has been going on, which is leading to a $2 trillion a year deficit, that's what the president was handed on Jan 20th, a $2 trillion deficit. It's insane.
that's so much money, dude.
Yeah, we inherited.
Yeah.
And inflation is back. I'm only here for 2.5 weeks.
That was January.
Inflation
You were there
is
for a
back.
week.
No, think of it. Inflation's back, and they said, "Oh, Trump inflation." I had nothing to do with it. These people have run the country. They spent money like nobody's ever spent. They were given $9 trillion to throw out the window. $9 trillion.
That's
And they
so
spent it on
much
the Green New
money.
scam.
9
Like,
trillion
it's
is
the greatest scam in the history of the
9,000
country.
billion.
A lot of them, I guess, but one.
Wokeism. and
That's so
transgenderism.
much money, dude.
And
Oh my
LGBT+.
God. People will work their
But
entire
not in America.
lives and never even make $1 million. Some
You know,
people.
The amazing thing is when you see like the teaching of DEI,
Or
$9 million.
10 million.
How do you spend $9 million to teach? No matter what it
Right.
is, you could teach
Exactly.
physics.
Either
or
way.
you could go to MIT for
It's
a lot
exactly
less.
expensive.
Most people will
It's
never
teaching
see that kind of money,
Yes.
ever.
How much do you believe, Elon, you've identified in waste, fraud, abuse, corruption now? And how much do you anticipate you will?
Sure. Well, I think
1%. No, because it's so massive. This
I
is
wonder.
Yeah.
huge money.
1%.
So what we
Huge
found
money.
now is
Look,
1%.
As
Sorry,
good as
but
they are, they're not going to find some contract that was crooked, crooked as hell. I mean, there's going to be so much that isn't found. But what is found, I think he's going to find $1 trillion.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think it's a very small percentage compared to what it is.
Let me go to an area that I think is key.
I think this is a very small percentage compared to what it actually is.
Recent interviews, and that is we don't need a Department of Education. Okay. And
Because he's talking
people are
about cutting the
trying to
Department of
instill
Education.
Fears that, oh my gosh, my kids
Giving it back to the
aren't gonna get
states.
the money for education.
Real
And
quick,
on
let's talk
social
about that actually. That's an interesting one. A lot of people don't know. When was the Department of Education made? Okay. So, the Department of Education was founded on October 17th of 79, and it was founded during Jimmy Carter's presidency. He signed the Department of Education Organization Act, which created the U.S. Department of Education. So, I'd be curious. So I was trying to see if I could figure out, I know that 1979 was when the Department of Education was put into place, it was established, but there were people that have claimed that U.S. has had, our educational system has become worse and worse since 1979. I do think that overall, broadly speaking, that people are getting smarter and are becoming more well-educated. But at the time when the Department of Education was established, they didn't have national rankings for education, I don't believe. I couldn't find anything about it. That being said, I do think when they talk about sending it back to the states could be a good thing because each state is going to have, they're going to know what it would do is they would be like, okay, look, we're going to give you this much money for education for each state. And then that state would be responsible for handling their own educational system based on the state they're in. Now, the problem that a lot of people have with that is that there wouldn't be a federal standard, like a United States standard across the entire board. But I do think that if things are handled at the state level for other things, that they're usually going to be more capable of determining what best ways to implement their, whatever it is, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be education, whether it be, local rules and law, maybe local commerce, things like that. So maybe that could be the same thing for education. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know the answer to that, but I think that it is better. Like when you handle things at the local level, it's going to get handled better. Like if somebody was trying to manage a lemonade stand in Nebraska from DC, like they're not going to know how best to handle that lemonade stand. Somebody that's local to that area is probably going to know how best to market it, how best to get the word out about it, like how best to do this, that, and the other thing, how to connect with the people that they're trying to sell it to. Like, I do think that bringing stuff locally is better. Locally grown food is better, right? Locally raised chickens are better, right? Local everything is usually better. So like the smaller you can kind of shrink stuff or like give the power back to the states, I do think that there's a benefit to that. And that's just my personal opinion. You know, am I right? Am I wrong? Who knows? You can decide for yourself how you feel about that.
Security and Medicare. This was a big promise of yours on the campaign trail. So I really want to give you both an opportunity to assure the American people you will keep that money will be allocated for students, but with higher standards, for example, I would assume associated with monies given or
so much. And then Elon goes, but look, Social Security won't be touched other than if there's fraud or something we're going to find it's going to be strengthened, but won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
You don't have to. Now, if there are
Unless it's
illegal
fraud,
migrants in the system, we're going to get them out of the system and all of that fraud, but it's not going to be touched. School. I want to bring school back to the states so that Iowa, Indiana, all these places, Idaho, New Hampshire, there's so many places, the states, I figure 35 really run well. And right now it's Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, China. China, can you imagine?
China.
Top schools.
China.
We're last. So they have a list of 40 countries. We're number 40. Usually we're 38, 39. The last time we were number 40. And what I say is you got to
we're not ranked very high as far as like education.
Number cost per pupil. We spend more money than any other country by far. It's not even close. Okay. So
I don't know if that's a true statistic, but I could see that being a thing because we overspend in everything.
When we give that back to Indiana, when we give that back to Iowa and back to a lot of the states that run well, they run well. There's a lot of them, 35, 37, 38. Now, you're going to have 10 laggards, but you're going to have 5 real laggards, but that's going to be okay.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Like, hey, here's a certain amount of money for you, for your state's education. Figure it out. Be responsible. Find a way to effectively use this money.
And you give it to Manhattan, but you give it to 4 or 5 subsections.
Obviously, it'll have to be a different amount of money based on the states.
It's going to be a problem, but you're going to give it to places that run well. We can change education. Now, school choice is important, but that will get taken care of automatically. We want to bring education back to the states. You will spend half the number, and I'm not even doing this. I'm not even doing this to save, but you will. It costs you much less money. You get a much better education. If you go to some of these states, you'll be the equivalent of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, places that really have a good school system.
Yeah, I do think that some of these places will have better education systems if it's brought back to the states.
Do you want standards?
Some of them may be worse.
Associated.
To be fair, some of them may be worse. I don't know, but I do think a lot of them would get better.
They're teaching English, reading, writing,
math,
and arithmetic.
Science.
Okay, a little science.
Science might help.
You know,
computers.
You're not going to have much of a problem with that, but that's it.
So your task now, and I pray to God this is successful. I really do. I wish you Godspeed. You know,
it'd be very interesting to see if they got rid of Jimmy Carter's.
By the way, I really believe.
But
Department of Education.
Well, beside this is cutting. We're only talking about cutting. We're also going to make a lot of money. We're taking in so much.
What about his business? What if there is
then we won't
a contract he would otherwise get?
If he's got a conflict, I mean, look, he's in certain areas. I mean, I see this morning. I didn't know, but I said, do the right thing. Where they're cutting way back on the electric vehicle subsidies.
Yes,
they're cutting back.
You're losing.
Not only cutting back.
Hurt you.
Correct.
Yeah. Now,
you don't care.
I will tell you. Well, he's probably not that happy with it, but that would have been one thing he would have come to me and said, listen, you got to do me a favor. This is crazy.
You got to do me a favor.
Like, subsidies. I wasn't involved in it. I said, do what's right, and they're coming up with a tax, but it's just preliminary. But, I mean, if he were involved, wouldn't you think he'd probably do that? Now, maybe he does better if you cut back on the subsidies. Who knows? Because he figures he does think differently. He thinks he has a better product.
Yeah.
And as long as he has a level playing field, he doesn't care what you do, which is he's told me that.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't asked the president for anything ever.
And if it comes up, how will you handle it?
Well,
He won't be involved.
yeah, I'll recuse myself if it is.
If there's a conflict, he won't be involved.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't want that, and he won't want it.
Right, and obviously I'm getting a daily proctology exam here. You know, it's not like I'll be getting away from
A
things.
daily proctology exam.
Well, I do have a dog, but I also have friends.
He's basically saying, he's getting his sphincter
The good ones, the bad ones, the smart ones, the lucky ones. I know.
poked.
This guy's he's a brilliant guy. He's a great guy. He's got tremendous imagination.
I'm getting a
and
daily
scientific
proctology
imagination.
exam.
Far beyond, you keep talking about a technologist and all, but you're much more than a technologist. You are that, but he's also a good person. He's a very good person, and he wants to see the country.
I think
do
depending
well.
on who you ask,
I know a lot of great business people.
I'm sure there's some people that think he's a
but, they're not,
menace
in some
to
cases,
society,
very
but
good
then,
and I know people that would
everybody
try and
that
take
I
advantage
know
of
that
the
knows
situation.
him personally,
This guy's somebody that really
I mean, they all
I
think he's
saw
a
that
great
very
dude.
early,
But
really a long
I also have a
time
lot
ago
of
when I
friends
got
that
to
don't
know him.
like him at all.
He's a very different kind of a character. That's why, you know who loves him? Young people that are very smart.
Young people that like memes. Young people that are very smart. I wonder why he said that are very smart. What a thing to say. You know who likes him? Young people that are very smart. That's funny. Well, anyway, I think that's the majority of it. Interesting seeing them sit down and talk. They had a lot to unpack. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. So this is going to be a tumultuous year. I suspect there's going to be breaking news every day, every week about some wild thing that's been uncovered. I fully expect that.